Good afternoon. This is Eli Tatum with Transworld Business Advisors, and I want to talk to you today about recasting. So for my sellers, what is recasting of financials? Whenever we're selling a business, we look at a lot of financial data. And one of the documents that we're going to look at is your profit and loss statement. Typically, we look at 3 years of your profit and loss statements. And so what we're going to do is look through all the line items in your P&Ls to see if there are any, first of all, non-essential expenses. So for instance, if you're paying for your cell phone out of the business and perhaps it's a restaurant or a retail business, you might not need your cell phone to run that. So that's number one. Number two, any perhaps one-time expenses. Did you replace the air conditioner in the building? You're not going to do that every year. Maybe every 10 years, something along those lines. The buyer's not going to have to do that. Number three, we're going to look for non-cash expenses. So depreciation, for instance, or interest is something that the buyer won't be inheriting from you. Maybe you owe a loan on some equipment or whatever it might be. We're going to add those back. We're also going to normalize your net income, if you will, by adjusting for rent if you own the building and you're not selling it. Because sometimes owners will pay themselves rent for a building that they own that they're using for their business, but the rent a lot of times will be below market value. However, when they sell their business, they're going to charge the new buyer, the new tenant, if you will, market rent. So the rent's going to go up. So if the rent is going to go up, then the total profit they're going to make out of the business is going to go down because the line item expense for rent as it stands right now is lower than it will be when the new buyer assumes ownership of the business. So what we're doing when we recast is we're normalizing the earnings at the bottom. Okay, sometimes there'll be a line item for owner compensation. That's in the expenses, but not at the bottom. Well, clearly that belongs to the owner. So we're going to add that back to the bottom. We're going to add as many legitimate things to the bottom number as we can and adjust and normalize things, perhaps like rent or otherwise, as we need to make sure that the bottom number is as accurate a number as what the buyer will be getting as possible. And that matters for a few reasons. One, they want to know what they're going to get. Two, sometimes the bank that's lending a loan for the business purchase is going to want to know that number. Well, I should say they absolutely will want to know that number. And number three, sometimes the business purchase price is to some degree based off of what that number is, depending on a few factors. But that number is very important. And so we're going to recast 3 years of financials to find out what you have made as the net total profit of the business, including any add backs or adjustments, as we mentioned. And that number, when all done, is called your seller's discretionary earnings. And that's why we recast, to find out what your SDE actually is. So I hope that was helpful. I know there's a lot there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Eli Tatum, etatem@tworld.com or at 864-527-5995. And again, this is Eli Tatum with Transworld Business Advisors. Thanks for listening. See you next time.